They may have let the cat out of the bag when they were trying to let people know, hey, we got a cat in the bag and we'll tell you all about it. Good morning. I'm Rock 107's Prospector. Yesterday, the Washington football team, formerly the Redskins, announced that they have decided on their new name. Yes, they have a new name. And that name will be revealed on February 2nd. You know, Groundhog's Day. And then they proceeded to give it away by accident. Maybe. People noticed if you typed in the URL WashingtonAdmirals.com, it took you directly to the Washington football team's official website. Yeah, it seems like they're going to be the Washington Admirals. And look, it didn't take that much detective work. They had a list of 6 or 7 finalists, so all you had to do when they go, oh, we got a new name, start typing in the URLs for those finalists, and boom, you'd kind of figure it out. Now, to the Washington football team's, soon-to-be Admirals, credit, that link doesn't work anymore. Now, if you go to WashingtonAdmirals.com, it takes you to a charity called Giving Kitchen. But, look, looks like they're going to be the Admirals. And if you don't like the Admirals, I guess it could be worse. Some people were speculating they're going to be called the Washington Groundhogs because the announcement's made on Groundhog Day. Maybe they chose that date because Washington just keeps having the same mediocre season over and over again.
Rejected new names for the Washington Redskins. The Washington Fredskins. The Grateful Dead Skins. The Foreskins. The Washington Jergens, sponsored by Jergens Lotion. The Ned Skins. The Right Said Fredskins. The Potato Skins, brought to you by TGI Fridays. Or the Red Foxskins.
You hear that, Elizabeth? I'm coming to join you, honey.
Those are some rejected new names for the Washington Redskins. We'll keep trying.
And now it's time for another episode of 1 Minute Inside a Woman's Head.
New year, new you, right? Wrong. I'm not making any resolutions this year. Sorry, we don't know what the future holds. I know there's a light at the end of the tunnel, but what if the light is a train? I won't be making any plans to travel more or be more social or any of that nonsense. I won't be rushing off to the gym and hopping on the treadmill every day. Sorry, I'm not hanging around with a bunch of people I don't know, sweating on everything and breathing heavy. That's a recipe for catching COVID. So kudos to you for trying to make the best year ever. Me? I'll settle for making it out alive. Happy New Year.
And that was another episode of 1 Minute Inside a Woman's Head.
I remember when I was in high school thinking how old I would be in the year 2000. Now it's 20 plus years later. I never thought about what the world would look like. I guess I could have just read a history book from 1918. Pretty much the same thing, except the masks have personalized messages on them this time.
And that was another episode of A Few Seconds Inside a Man's Head.
It's easy getting started. Yeah, you got big plans? Who knows? Good morning. I'm Rock 107's Prospector. As many recent college grads can attest, finding your first job can be a bit more challenging than you may have expected. But hey, if you're just out of college and you're looking to be hired and you want a position with flexibility, travel, the chance to meet new people, and, well, peanuts, this could be the right job for you. Planters is looking for 3 recent college graduates to take on driver duties for the iconic Nutmobile. Yeah, these 3 peanutters would chauffeur Mr. Peanut around in a 26-foot-long nut on wheels. Of course, great affinity for Mr. Peanut being born in Wilkes-Barre on Public Square many, many years ago. Maybe you could be out there driving him around. The company will choose employees, and they'll have the opportunity to drive coast to coast. They'll make pit stops at communities along the way, and they'll be out there talking to people and all that kind of stuff, getting social media, doing interviews with radio and TV, all that kind of stuff. The application period starts today, and it's open through the 24th of January. Head to Planter's official website for all the details. You need to know a ton about Mr. Peanut to land this gig, and I can help. Here is the true story of Mr. Peanut.
As a high roller, they don't come any higher. Laid out in spats and carrying a pimp stick, he rolls with Tony the Tiger, Bip the Michelin Tire Man, even the Pillsbury Doughboy. But life hasn't always been a non-stop party for the monocled madman that loves it in the can. Booze, broads, blow, and buttered bread. This is the story of Mr. Peanut. The True Hollywood Story. Mr. Peanut was born in an elementary school Dixie cup on the troubled streets of Compton, California. Orphaned at the age of 7, his parents were the victims of a senseless drive-by cracking. At 17, alone, afraid, and angry that he was drawn without genitalia, Mr. Peanut packed up what little he had and made his way to Hollywood. Unskilled and needing money badly, Mr. Peanut's first few years in Hollywood were spent dancing in gentlemen's clubs. Clubs like Vic's Rubber Fist and the Velvet Satchel. Patron Sammy Clifton.
Oh, he's fantastic. I mean, there was always something special about that kid. I mean, for a guy without a waist, he could really bring it.
But those nights spent swinging his sweetmeat quickly began to take their toll. Mr. Peanut's custom of allowing his customers to tip with coins would become his downfall, as the constant pressure of several $100s worth of loose change swinging back and forth inside his G-string soon put a small stress fracture in his lower shell. His love affair with the bottle, as well as his constant struggle with bulimia, left Mr. Peanut a shell of his former self. It was in rehab that Mr. Peanut's life took a turn for the better, thanks to a chance meeting with the man whose offer of a job would change Mr. Peanut's life forever.
I told him that my family had just bought a peanut boat back in Suffolk, Virginia, and if he wanted to, he could come work for me and learn how to be a peanut fisherman.
And the rest, as they say, is history. Mr. Peanut accepted the job offer and moved to Suffolk, Virginia, where the locals, impressed by this larger-than-life legume, immediately made him their king and offered Mr. Peanut their virgin daughters, who to this day are still virgins because Mr. Peanut, as you already know, was drawn without genitalia. And so goes the story of Mr. Peanut, the True Hollywood Story.
Breaking the news that's already broken. It's time for Prospector's Briefs on Rock 107.
Kim Kardashian and Pete Davidson are off on a romantic getaway in the Bahamas. In totally unrelated news, Kanye West just announced a huge concert for tomorrow night in the Bahamas. Even though they may have accidentally tipped that they'll be called the Admirals, the Washington football team will announce their new name officially on February 2nd. If based on this season, it would be the Sucky Washington football team. A teenager spent months learning French so that he could ask out a girl, only to find out she's actually German. But the story has a happy ending. In keeping with French tradition, he surrendered to her.
It's 60 Minutes meets Gone in 60 Seconds. Tune in tomorrow for Prospector's Briefs on Rock 107. Texting and drinking is never a good idea. We've all done it, and we've all regretted it. The drunken texts you forgot you sent. Prospectors collected them in Texticated on Rock 107.
From the 310 in Los Angeles, if you really hate him, do what I do. Give him an amazing night of unforgettable sex, then dump him. You'll ruin sex for him because new women won't compare. Area code 617, Boston, Massachusetts. I would really appreciate it if you would stop texting my girlfriend. Reply, I'd really appreciate it if you'd stop C-blocking me.
You hit send, and we hit the floor laughing in Texticated on Rock 107.
587 Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I never thought in my late 30s I would end up taking a face ride on a desk in the manager's office of a Lululemon. But I guess being a franchise owner has its perks. Area code 847 in Elgin, Illinois. I took some Ambien and I tripped out. I went to my mom's room to say goodnight, and I don't remember anything. She said I got really mad at her because we were living in the Keebler's elf tree, and there were 7 people sitting on my knees.
Hey, we found him in your telephone. Intoxicated on Rock 107.
Hammond, Indiana, area code 219. Rather than putting your name in guys' phones, you just texted 90999 to donate $10 to the Red Cross Relief and gave it back to them. Trenton, New Jersey, area code 609. I would do horrible things to your lady garden. Replied, prove it.
Proof that booze and cell phones don't mix. Intoxicated on Rock 107.
So I went there. Met one of my other friends, Vince, who I've also known since I was a kid. I've known him since I was 4. Met him outside the funeral home, and we head into the wake together. Now, we're not wearing suits, like our dads did when he attended wakes when we were kids. But no, we're dressed appropriately. It's not like I got jeans on or cutoffs. No, I've got nice pants on. I've got a button-down shirt, sweater. However, as soon as I walk into the funeral home, like as soon as I hit the door and look inside, I realize I am not 100% dressed appropriately. I am missing something. I walk into the wake with the only mask that I had with me, and it had a logo from a TV show on it. Everyone else, black masks. Yeah, everyone else had a black mask on. Simple, elegant black mask. It shows respect. It doesn't distract. It doesn't call attention. Here's me with the TV mask sticking out like a sore thumb. Now, did they hand out these black masks? Did I miss them? No, everyone else was smart enough to bring and wear the proper mask, except me. Yeah. I've got on a white mask with a big blue R logo on it representing Renham Industries from a great British TV show called The IT Crowd, which I highly recommend. Just don't wear the mask to the funeral. Now we need to have formal masks. I had no idea, but yeah, now it's the thing. You got to have a black mask. Simple, elegant, ready for a funeral or a sad occasion. I didn't have it. I walk in looking like an idiot. I'm just glad I wasn't wearing my "it's not COVID, I just farted" mask.
Life's pretty tough right now. There's plenty of bad news, but it's not all bad. It's time for the brighter side of Prospector on Rock 107.
An 80-year-old guy in the United Kingdom named Alfie Kitson briefly went viral last month because a video showed his little dog picking up litter while they were out on a walk. He's trained her to pick up water bottles and put them in recycling bins. Each time she does it, she gets a treat. That's a great story in and of itself, but it gets better because the video made the rounds in England, and it ended up reuniting Alfie with his long-lost siblings. His brother is 84, his sister is 71, and they lost touch after Alfie moved to Spain 20 years ago. He recently moved back to the United Kingdom but didn't know how to get in touch, and now they're back in touch.
Thanks. We needed that. The brighter side of Prospector on Rock 107.
Thanks for listening to Prospector's Prime Cuts podcast. Be sure to catch us live weekdays from 5:30 to 10 a.m. on Rock 107 or online at rock107.com or the Rock 107 app, a free download for your Android or iPhone. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss Prospector's Prime Cuts.
Yambag? A fool, an idiot, a blockhead, a dunce, or an ignoramus. You know, a dullard, simpleton, or a clot, nitwit, dipstick, pea-brain, mouth breather, or cretin.
It's now time to announce the winner of Prospector's Yambag of the Day as decided by you at rock107.com.
Here are the nominees. Nominee number 1.
The parents in Home Alone didn't get in trouble because they left their kid at home by mistake. It could have been a much darker movie, though, if they'd done it on purpose. A couple in Arizona just got arrested after intentionally leaving their 11-year-old son home alone for the holidays. They live in Arizona just north of the border with Mexico, and it actually happened before Christmas. The mom, 34-year-old Melissa Green, she left town just before Thanksgiving, and the dad is 40-year-old Bobby Joe Green, and he left just after Thanksgiving. Cops got a tip and found the kid at home alone during a welfare check on December 12th. So it sounds like he'd been there by himself for a full 2 weeks. Now, luckily, he was okay. He had enough to eat, but he hadn't been to school in 2 weeks. Child Protective Services took him in. Melissa and Bobby Joe got arrested on December 29th after they finally came home from their trip. It's not clear where they went, but they are facing charges for child neglect.
Nominee number 2.
Here's how you go from frustration to incarceration. 2 women in their early 20s stopped at a Wawa store in Delaware last Monday night, and on their way out, they couldn't find their keys. One of them is 20-year-old Jayon Bell. The other is 21-year-old Azina Davis. I don't know if they locked their keys in their car or they just couldn't find them, but they demanded that employees at the store help them get the doors open. It's not clear how they expected them to do that, but when they were told they couldn't help, Jayon and Azina flipped out. They damaged a ton of merchandise and displays, attacked an employee and a random person who stepped in to try to help. Police eventually showed up and they fought them too. Azina also attacked the paramedic who was trying to help her. They're both facing a long list of charges, including several felonies.
And the winner is
the 2 parents who intentionally left their kid home alone during the holidays. And we're talking weeks. What the hell is the matter with you? You're the Yambags of the day, and we'll move on to Friday's Yambag of the Week competition. Stay tuned for all the nominees for Prospector's Yambag of the Day, weekday mornings on Rock 107.